Welcome to Brainwaves and Breakthroughs.
So you're thinking about buying a house?
Huge decision, right?
It feels like everyone's got an opinion these days.
Yeah,
But we're going to cut through the noise today
exactly.
and just focus on you and your situation with buying a home.
Yep,
We've got a whole stack of research and articles here,
a lot of information.
all about Gen Z and millennials and this crazy housing market.
Absolutely.
Our mission today is to give you the insights you need to decide if buying is even right for you.
Or renting.
Or renting, exactly.
It's a whole different ballgame out there.
Yeah, what is it with this market?
Oh,
Is it even the same?
It's different than what our parents went through, that's for sure.
Totally different, right?
All these sources are saying that.
Yeah, and speaking of the sources,
Yeah.
they're throwing some pretty crazy stats at us.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, did you know?
What's that?
70% of Americans think it's way tougher for young adults to buy a home today than it was for their parents.
Wow, 70%.
That's a lot.
That's not just like a feeling.
Right.
That's like straight from Pew Research.
Wow.
And on top of that, the average home price
Yeah.
increased 16% just between April 2020 and 2021.
Oh my gosh.
The biggest jump since 1992.
It's like the pandemic.
Yeah.
Just threw gasoline on this already.
Oh, yeah.
Like wildfire of a market.
Absolutely.
My head's spinning.
Yeah.
With all these numbers,
I know.
maybe we need a real life story to ground us a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of our sources actually features a first-time homebuyer from Maryland.
Oh, cool.
Her name is Ellie Conway.
All right.
And guess what?
What?
She's a mortgage loan officer.
Oh,
Talk about insider knowledge.
that's awesome.
Wow.
Like a cheat code.
Seriously, a cheat
To
code.
the housing market.
But even with Ellie's expertise, she had to get creative.
Really?
She actually ended up choosing to live with roommates to help make those mortgage payments.
Wow. So even with her expertise, it's still tough out there
Yeah,
for a first-time home buyer.
exactly.
Right.
And it just shows how Gen Z is really having to adapt to this market. Yeah. But you know, Ellie's story also brings up a good point.
What's that?
Like, how much do we really know about getting a mortgage?
Yeah, that's key.
What are some things that Ellie learned that could help our listeners?
Well, she said one of the most important things is to really explore those first-time homebuyer programs.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
They can offer like lower down payments
Right.
and even some more favorable interest rates.
Oh, that's awesome.
Huge game changer for anyone struggling to get into the market.
Totally. I remember Ellie mentioned something about seller concessions, too.
Oh, yeah.
What are those?
Yeah, so seller concessions basically are when the seller agrees to cover some of the buyer's closing costs.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and Ellie said it's really worth negotiating those,
Okay.
especially in a competitive market.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Right.
Actionable advice.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing the market. It's about knowing how to play the game.
Exact.
But even with all the strategy,
Yeah.
the financial hurdle is very real. I mean, 46% of parents have had their adult kids move back home
Wow.
because of housing costs.
It's real.
The boomerang generation.
The boomerang generation.
That's crazy.
It's a real thing.
And it goes deeper than just those individual stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, our sources are pointing to this pretty concerning trend.
What's that?
Stagnant wages.
Yeah, it's hard out there.
When you adjust for inflation, the federal minimum wage has actually dropped 40% since 2009.
Oh, my goodness, 40%.
That's wild.
That's huge.
It's like trying to climb a mountain with like a 40-pound weight
Yeah.
just strapped to your back.
Exactly.
And it's not even just the down payment that we need to worry about, right?
Right.
Like, this pasted text source and a NASDAQ video
Yeah.
both really emphasized all those hidden costs of homeownership.
The hidden costs.
They can really sneak up on you
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
if you're not prepared.
If you're not ready for it.
Yeah, we're talking about property taxes,
Oh, yeah.
which can just eat up a chunk of your monthly income. And then there's homeowners insurance,
Right. And that varies a lot.
depending on where you are
Depends where you live.
and how old your home is.
How old your house is.
And this is my favorite,
What's that?
maintenance and repairs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, remember that leaky faucet
Uh-huh.
that turned into a plumbing nightmare?
Oh, no.
Those unexpected costs can add up.
For sure.
It's no wonder 40% of Gen Z buyers are stressed about all those upfront expenses.
Yeah.
It's like everything costs more than you think it will.
That's a good saying.
But before we get too discouraged,
Yeah.
let's talk about one of the hottest trends in the market right now.
Okay, what's that?
House hacking.
House hacking.
This is where things get interesting.
I heard.
I'm intrigued.
Especially for Gen Z.
Okay.
But hold on. before we go any further,
Okay.
let's make sure our listeners even know what house hacking is.
Good point.
It kind of sounds like a tech heist or something.
I know, right?
So what is house hacking?
Okay, so it's not about hacking into anyone's wifey.
Right.
It's actually a pretty smart way to offset those mortgage costs.
Oh,
So essentially you buy a property
okay.
and then you rent out a portion of it.
So like you buy a duplex and you rent out one of the units.
Exactly.
Or maybe you've got like a basement apartment you list on Airbnb.
Yeah,
That rental income helps cover your mortgage payment.
exactly. It makes it more affordable.
Makes it way more affordable.
For sure.
I like it.
Yeah, and according to National Mortgage News, this trend is just exploding,
Wow.
especially among Gen Z.
Really?
Yeah, there are even loan officers on TikTok teaching people about it.
Wait, loan officers on TikTok?
Yeah,
I gotta see that.
I know.
It's amazing how Gen Z is using tech to like demystify all this financial stuff.
For sure.
It's like they're creating a whole new playbook for
Yeah.
homeownership.
Yeah.
But even with all these creative solutions, let's be real, buying a home is a huge commitment.
It is a big commitment.
It's not just about the finances, it's a lifestyle choice.
Our sources brought up some really good questions to consider. Like what? Are you ready for the responsibility of all that maintenance and repairs?
That's a good question.
What if you need to move
Yeah.
for a job
Yeah.
or just for a change of scenery?
What if you want to travel?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not as simple as just packing up and going
Right.
when you own a property.
Exactly.
You have to think about all that.
I think that pasted tech source really nailed it
Oh, yeah.
when they said it's about weighing the flexibility of renting
Right.
versus the stability of owning.
Oh, that's a good point.
Which one's more your style right now?
Which one fits your lifestyle?
Exactly. And that brings us to our next topic.
Ooh, what's that?
The rent versus buy showdown.
Oh, let's get into
We're
it.
going to unpack all the pros and cons,
Cool.
dive deeper into those financial comparisons,
Love it.
and even see how your own goals and risk tolerance plays into all of this.
Let's do it. All right, so we've talked about all the challenges in this market and those hidden costs,
Yeah. And even some creative ways to make it work.
like house hacking.
Exactly, house hacking.
Pretty cool.
But let's shift gears for a sec
Go.
and talk about one of the biggest questions for anyone thinking about buying a home.
Okay. The big question
Should you rent or buy?
of the ultimate showdown.
Right.
For years, owning a home was like the American dream,
Yeah,
like the ultimate achievement.
absolutely.
But are things changing?
I think so.
Is that still true today?
Yeah, all our sources seem to be challenging that idea.
Really?
Yeah. And it's not even just about affordability anymore. It's about realizing that renting has its own perks,
Okay, sure.
especially depending on your lifestyle and finances.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I know NerdWallet even has this cool rent versus buy calculator.
Oh, yeah, I love that thing.
It takes into account like all sorts of things,
It really breaks it down.
like potential investment returns and property taxes.
Even your risk tolerance.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
it helps you see the long-term impact of each choice.
Huh.
Right. And you know what's interesting?
Hmm,
In a lot of cases, renting actually comes out on top,
really?
especially in the short term.
Wow.
If you invest that money, you would put towards a down payment.
Okay.
You could see bigger returns in the stock market or other investments.
Interesting.
Yeah, and renting gives you more flexibility to move around,
Oh, yeah. True.
which is huge if you're not ready to settle down,
Yeah, that flexibility is a big deal for a lot of people.
especially Gen Z and millennials.
And let's not forget about the freedom from those maintenance headaches.
Oh, yeah,
When you're renting, you don't have to fix that leaky faucet.
that's the landlord's problem,
Exactly.
not yours.
So much less stress.
Right, right.
But our pasted text source did mention
What's that?
some potential financial benefits to owning a home.
Oh, right, right. Like, what about those tax deductions?
Yeah, what about those?
Yeah, it's true that homeowners can deduct things like mortgage interest and property taxes, which
Right.
can lower their tax burden.
Right?
But you got to remember,
What's that?
those deductions don't always outweigh all the other costs of owning.
So it's not a guaranteed win.
Exactly.
You really got to do the math.
Crunch those numbers.
See what makes sense for your situation.
Yeah.
But beyond the numbers, there's also that emotional side of owning a home.
Oh, absolutely.
What's that all about?
It can give you a sense of pride,
Okay.
stability,
Yeah.
a feeling of belonging.
You're creating a space that's truly yours.
Right.
You can put down roots.
Build memories.
I think that's what resonated with Ellie in that Pew video.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just a financial thing for her.
It was more than that.
It was about having a place she could really call home.
Right. A place of her own.
You know, I'm sensing a shift in the conversation here.
Really? What do you mean?
Like, yeah, our sources are talking about the challenges,
Yeah.
but there's also this, like, underlying sense of optimism,
Interesting.
especially when it comes to Gen Z.
Okay.
Like, they're facing a tougher market than previous generations.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not giving up.
They're not backing down.
They're resourceful.
Resilient.
They're determined to find their own way to make homeownership happen.
Yeah, I like that.
It's like they're saying, okay, the rules of the game have changed,
Okay.
but we're going to find a way to win.
I love that attitude.
Me too.
Yeah.
And they're coming up with some pretty amazing ways to do it.
Like what?
Remember those loan officers on TikTok?
Oh, yeah.
They're not just explaining house hacking.
Right.
They're giving Gen Z the tools to really navigate this market.
They're empowering them.
Exactly. And Gen Z is listening.
They're paying attention.
According to Meridian Link, they actually made up 40% of all U.S. mortgages in 2023.
Wow. 40%.
That's huge.
That's a lot of mortgages.
It's a statement.
Yeah, what do you think it says?
I think it says that Gen Z understands that homeownership is a marathon.
Not a sprint.
Exactly.
They're willing to play the long game.
They're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
They're making sacrifices.
On what?
Like house hacking or moving back in with their parents
Right.
to reach that ultimate goal of owning a home.
They're willing to do what it takes.
And speaking of long-term thinking,
Yeah.
our sources highlighted some pretty exciting trends
Ooh, like what?
that could actually reshape the future of housing.
I'm all ears.
One of the biggest game changers is remote work.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
National Mortgage News pointed out that this is giving people more options to live in affordable places,
Okay.
even if their jobs are in those super expensive cities.
Interesting.
So you could work for a company in San Francisco,
Right.
but live in a cute little town in the Midwest.
I love that.
It opens up a whole world of possibilities.
It really does.
It's like the geography of opportunity is expanding.
Yeah, it's not limited anymore.
And as that trend continues,
Yeah.
we might actually see a shift away from those big, expensive cities
Okay.
and towards those more affordable, livable communities.
That makes sense.
It can be a win-win for homeowners and local economies.
Yeah, everyone benefits.
It's like we're on the verge of a housing revolution,
Ooh, a revolution.
and Gen Z is leading the charge.
I love it.
But it's not just about location.
Right. What else is there?
Technology is playing a huge role, too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Remember that pasted text source that talked about smart homes?
Yeah, and sustainable building materials.
All those innovations.
So cool.
They're not just making homes more efficient and eco-friendly.
Right.
They're making them more affordable and accessible, too.
Awesome.
I love the idea of a home that's stylish and comfortable,
Yeah,
but also good for the planet and my wallet.
right. It's all connected.
But with all this talk about innovation
Yeah.
and shifting trends,
Uh-huh.
there's still a big question.
What's that?
Will Gen Z actually be able to reach their homeownership goals?
That is the question, isn't it?
It's easy to get swept up in all the excitement,
Yeah, all the possibilities.
but the reality is they're still facing a ton of obstacles.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Stagnant wages, rising interest rates, a housing market that just feels out of reach.
Yeah, it's a lot to overcome.
It's like they're trying to climb Mount Everest with a backpack full of bricks.
That's a good way to put it.
But here's the thing that really stands out to me.
What's that?
Gen Z isn't just accepting these challenges.
Right.
They're trying to change the game.
They're fighting back.
They're not just waiting for the market to magically become more affordable.
Right.
They're demanding more transparency from lenders.
Okay.
They're advocating for policy changes.
Yeah.
They're exploring alternative housing models.
That's amazing.
It's like they're saying, hey, this system isn't working for us.
Okay.
We're going to create a new one that does.
I love that.
And that brings us to a really crucial question.
Okay, hit me with it.
What will the future of homeownership look like if Gen Z gets to write the rules?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a fascinating thought.
It really is.
And it's something we're going to explore more in the final part of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
We're going to look at everything.
Okay.
From sustainable building practices
Awesome.
to community-focused housing models.
Yeah.
It's like we're peeking into a crystal ball
Oh, I love that.
and getting a glimpse of a future where homeownership is more equitable, more sustainable, and more aligned with the values of this generation.
A brighter future.
But before we get too ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's take a moment to just acknowledge that emotional side of homeownership.
Right. It's not just about the numbers and trends.
It's about finding a place that feels like home.
A place where you truly belong.
So we've talked about market trends and financial hurdles and house hacking, but there's a big piece we haven't really touched on,
What's that?
that emotional side of homeownership.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Buying a home isn't just a transaction. It's way more than that.
It's like an emotional investment.
Absolutely.
Finding a place that really speaks to you.
Yeah, a space where you can just be yourself and create the life you want.
Remember Ellie from that Pew video?
Yeah?
She talked about how much she loved having a place that was hers to build her future the way she wanted.
Yeah, it's that feeling of ownership putting down roots.
That goes beyond just the house itself.
It's about more than bricks and mortar.
It's about creating a sanctuary,
Yeah.
a place where you can relax and recharge
Spend time with loved ones.
and make it your own.
A space that reflects your personality and values.
And it's not just about the individual either.
Right.
Homeownership can impact families and communities.
Absolutely. Think about the stability and security it can bring.
That sense of belonging,
Yeah, being part of something bigger than yourself.
contributing to your neighborhood,
That need for belonging and purpose.
feeling connected.
Having a place in the world.
Homeownership isn't the only way to get that,
Of course not.
but it can definitely play a big role.
It can.
So when we think about all of this,
Okay.
the finances, the lifestyle tech, all those emotional needs,
Yeah.
what does it tell us about the future of homeownership?
That's a good question.
Especially when we factor in Gen Z's vision.
What do you think?
I think the idea of the American dream is changing.
How so?
It's not just about that detached single-family home anymore.
The white picket fence.
Yeah. It's more about finding a place that fits your own needs and values.
Okay.
Creating a home that reflects who you are.
I like that.
Whether it's a condo in the city,
Yeah.
a tiny house,
Or a multi-generational home.
all those different options.
Our sources talked about all sorts of approaches.
Or alternative housing model,
Focusing on sustainability.
building community.
Using tech to make owning a home more accessible.
It's like the market is becoming more personalized.
Yeah, more tailored to individual needs.
But with all those choices
Yeah.
comes a lot of responsibility.
What do you mean?
We need to really do our research.
Yes.
Crunch those numbers.
Absolutely.
Consider our lifestyle.
Think about what's important to you.
And most importantly, listen to our gut.
Yeah, what feels right?
What kind of space will bring us joy?
What kind of community do you want to be a part of?
Finding that balance between practical and what you're passionate about.
Makes sense.
And remember, all of our sources basically said the same thing.
What's that?
The housing market is changing,
Big time.
but it's also full of possibilities.
Yeah, I like that.
Gen Z is bringing a lot of energy and new ideas,
Shaking things up.
challenging the status quo and really shaping the future, what it means to own a home.
They're the future.
Who knows? Maybe they'll be the generation to create a housing system that really works for everyone.
A system that's fair and sustainable.
That would be amazing.
It would?
So as you're figuring out whether to rent or buy,
Yeah.
just remember there's no one right answer.
It depends on you,
It's about finding what works for your situation,
your goals, your values.
your vision for the future.
And it's not just about finding a house,
It's about creating a home
a place that feels right,
that brings you joy
connects you with others.
and helps you live your best life.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Gen Z and millennial homeownership.
It's been fun.
Until next time, happy house hunting.